We're waiting about 15 to 20 seconds because it takes a little while for the video to go live on Facebook. So we'll just wait just a minute.
While we're waiting, we're in our studio, our guest studio, which is where hopefully some of you might find your way to visit, to stay a night or two or three. And behind this curtain is the rainforest. It's a lovely view of the rainforest from this studio.
Okay, so hello, I'm Derek Lanakila, a healer facilitator or energy healer, as many of you know. I'm with Derek.com or VolcanoIslandHaven.com. And I have with me a very special guest, which is Nidra Lanakila, who is my wife. But even more importantly to this and your conversation is Nidra was my teacher. Nidra taught me how to do what I do. And she's been doing this for over 35 years. I think longer than that, but she won't admit to that. She's also, she was my teacher for 5 years and then became my mentor as I really went out on my own. So today we're going to talk about energy healing and how distance healing works and a little bit how healing works. And I'm going to dive in a place I usually explain. I usually say something like energy travels in travel this life. I've learned travels this life. And it's, most people in the car turn on the radio and they tune into the station. Kind of, in a very crude analogy, what I do when I'm tuning into somebody. Your car's not connected to anything. It's coming through the air. You can't see the radio waves. You can't feel it, but you hear it coming through the radio, and it can be distinct on many, many different stations. So in a very crude, that's kind of how I can do energy healing from a distance, but we're going to dive into a lot more today and go a lot deeper than that. So first of all, I want to say that we come from a place of spirituality. We come from a place of intuitiveness. So all that I do and all that Nidra taught me was from that place of intuitiveness, from that place of spirituality, of how to do what I do. There wasn't science to explain what this does. And what's fascinating is, as we've always said, even way back then, is science and spirituality are coming closer and closer together. And I have said many times that I believe, someday science will be able to kind of explain what we do. And that's actually starting to happen. So it's kind of exciting for me, from my logical brain, to see that there's actual proof that this works, even though the proof has always been in the results. The proof has always been, way before science could explain this, that people actually got healed. And we didn't always know why or how, other than it worked. So Nidra, you can jump in anytime with anything. I'm just going to kind of ramble on a little bit.
Well, we still don't always know why and how it works.
That's very, very true. So quantum healing is probably the science that most explains it. And what's fascinating about the part of quantum healing that actually really pertains to what we do is, quantum physics is a science that explains it. So in quantum physics, they're studying atoms and how that things work at the really detailed level. And what they found is everything is particles, and an accumulation of particles that are always moving and active. So even a chair is actually not solid, It's just our senses that perceive it and feel it as solid, but it's actually a billions or trillions of whatever tiny particles that are interacting in a way that is creating something specific. Now, what they've been able to scientifically figure out is that the particles always, when they merge to form something, that even if you separate the particles, they're still connected. So they found in just some of the tests that they do is they can create a particle that's spinning in a certain direction, and they can have two particles that are together, both spinning in a certain direction. They can separate those particles by distance, by thousands of miles, and then with intention, that one particle that they're with, they can just with thought, they can have it spin in a different direction, and they can measure this. And when that starts spinning in a direction, instantaneously the particle thousands of miles away starts spinning in a different direction. So it's kind of exciting to me. I mean, this is a thing you could dive deep into, and for those of you who want to do it, just look into quantum physics, and I'll probably provide some links in some of the notes that we provide from this. But how that correlates is when I have intention with somebody, when I'm doing healing, I connect with them. So now we've become interactive together on from a science place, on a cellular level, from our place on an intuitive, on a spiritual level. I'm connecting to somebody, and my intention can actually change what's happening in somebody else's body. So it's kind of fun for me. I mean, it's I've been doing this for over 25 years. I've seen the results for over 25 years. I know it works, but it's still kind of fun for my logical brain to see that. And then there's been literally thousands of double-blind studies that have tested distance healing and even prayer and different things, but everything with intention that shows that people actually change, that things actually happen from a distance. So I'm going to pause there. I know Nidra's probably chomping at the bit over here to kind of go a little bit more into the spiritual side of it and the maybe the metaphysics side of it, because that's really where we come from this. But I just wanted to start out with some of that science side a little bit.
Give me a second. Well, I'm really glad that you explained what you did, because that's so not my field. And it is fascinating, and it is interesting that there are more and more studies, and it's kind of like a finally that there are researchers out there and backers, financial backers, who are interested enough to want to know more about what does intention have to do with anything connected with healing. What in the world might it have to do with it? So what I'm going to say, and I don't know what I'm going to say, but what I'm going to say is probably not going to follow exactly from what Derek has just said, what you've just said. But I'm just going to share the thoughts that come forward for me. And the first thought that comes forward is how far we've come in 35, 40 years. I can't speak to before that, because that's how long I've been in it. So I'm speaking about my experience and my life journey, and some of the interpretations that I've had and iterated on over the many years I've been in this. The interesting thing for me is how back then in the beginning, even talking about intuition was ridiculed. Was that, oh, your intuition.
It's true.
And we've come so far. And I think that that's an example of things that, let's just say, the norm, uh, or any particular group of people might find odd uh, at one time in history or um, time. And then as time evolves and we move forward, that same group might find it more normal and not sensationalistic, not ridicule it, but actually perhaps use references to it in maybe even their daily conversation, or perhaps even in their life experience and their practice of life. And I got into it as a new ager, and I know that there are a lot of people that um, talk about how new age is phooey and whatever they have to say about it. But I want to say that new age brought forward or ushered into more of the norm. I'm not saying they necessarily introduced it or created it, because there's probably things that I'm about to mention. I know that there are things that I'm about to mention that are thousands of years old, but new age ushered it into more of the mainstream via bookstores, really, metaphysical bookstores, Barnes and Noble, Borders, and the more I started looking into Ching, numerology, and let's see, there's so many things. Way, which is, I don't know how it's 40 years. Um, and of course, um, and energy work and psychic and intuitive.
Hold on a second. We've lost our signal.
Oh, we lost our signal. Oh no. Damn.